Hi, it's Chris with Implied Music. Bach is epic. 18th and 19th century common practice is the bedrock in which all epic orchestration and cinematic music rests. There have been a lot of developments since then, but let's go back to the source. Today we're going to look at a Bach chorale, pick it apart, talk about prepared dissonance, why it's good, how to use it. Let's dive in. Well, I've done a video or two on prepared dissonance before. There's one specifically on the idea. And then in my first and maybe most successful video, the one about epic chord progressions, we're talking about prepared dissonances there as well. Well, it's all rooted in an early sort of form of harmonic motion, which we call counterpoint. Counterpoint is the way that chords flow from one thing to another. Bach didn't think about chords the way, say, a guitarist does, a chunk of something moving to another chunk of something else, but rather as a series of voices, soprano, alto, tenor, and bass. Bach thought of it in four voices. Here are the four voices of Rejoice Greatly, O My Soul. I love this chorale and I use it to teach. In this book, you probably saw, there's a number there, it's like 371. There are 371 chorales, and in this simple collection, plus larger ones. And each of them has something useful to teach us. I don't usually work with notation in this channel, so let's take a look at what it looks like in the DAW. Okay, so with any luck at all, we can get this all on our screen. And it makes a pretty pattern, doesn't it? One thing that we can look for in good counterpoint is the use of strong parallelisms and strong contrary motions. But Bach goes way past just simple tools like that in this arrangement. As each chord happens and is released, it sort of leaves behind a residue. And that's the prepared dissonance. Well, let's listen to this version that I've prepared on a small orchestral mock-up. Bach was a church organist and prepared music every week for services. And he worked in large spaces. And this has an important impact on why prepared dissonance is developed. When you have a note from one chord moving in stepwise motion to a note of a second chord, it is great if it just hangs out there for a second, because let's face it, a big reverberant space, the sound is going to echo. There's a built-in dissonant preparation in every chord progression. Well, let's take a look at how this works, both in notation really quickly, and then take a look at it on the screen. So I've actually gone through and written here the chord progression, and I hope that's useful and that you can see it. I know it's kind of small. But then I also color-coded tones that hang over as we go from chord to chord. And in the first measure, the D from the D chord here hanging over to the D in the E chord is not that big a deal. D and D are both in the G chord. But as we move forward, these lovely moments here, the E hanging over into the D chord creates a suspension. The E was there in the E chord. It stayed going into the D chord and then released down to a D. That dissonance, the E, was prepared. It appeared in the prior chord. That happens again and again in this arrangement. Here it happens in measure 4 the same way. And then in this last measure, 3 examples creating a really strong sense of propulsion. As the G9 to G chord moves to F sharp minor, the G is a beautiful suspension to the F sharp. We get this really strong wiggly sense. And then the A from the F sharp minor lives into the B minor 7 chord. That is so beautiful. And then moving down here, this G hangs out in the D7 chord. In fact, it's a classic suspension, the 4th moving down to the 3rd until the final resolution. Listen for tones that exist in the prior chord and hang over into its neighbor. With only 4 voices, Bach has created a rich, compelling texture. That texture is the result of careful planning. The melody is an old melody from the 16th century. He's harmonized it. And in fact, many melodies in the chorale book here appear 6, 7 times with different harmonizations, sometimes in different keys, with different chords, different arrangements. There's lots of solutions to harmonize any melody. Well, Bach thought of his harmonic language as a collection of independent voices, and that's where the term polyphony comes from. And those independent voices move and create a weaving tapestry, which sort of gives us the overall impression of tonic-dominant relationships, of the shifting sands of harmonic motion. It's not the most contemporary approach, I'll grant you, but this same approach can be used again and again between any 2 chords. Any 2 chords can be voiced so that you move from one to the other by moving each voice either not at all or only a step. Let's just test that before we go. So any 2 chords. Okay, Chris. How about 2 chords a tritone apart? One of them's major, one of them's minor. A minor to E flat major. I can do it. A minor. E flat major. They had no tones in common, but I was able to move each voice by only a step. Well, that's nice, Chris, but there's no suspension there. Could I have suspended it? I could have. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to suspend the A. Here we go. A minor. E flat major suspended. And there's the E flat major. Well, that's nice, Chris. Can you get to C major from there? Piece of cake. Here I go. Pretty. Can you get to A flat major from there? Sure. And from there, B major? Sure. B flat minor. E flat 7. And back to A minor. I think that's kind of enough. Super fun, right? I play Bach every day. It's the first thing I do when I sit down at the piano. I pick up this book and I play a whole page. The whole page has 4 or 5 little chorales on it. Bach is the foundation. We've come a long way since, but it's really worth studying how prepared dissonances have influenced epic music today. Well, I hope this has been useful. Like and subscribe, hit the notification button. You know the drill. You've been on YouTube before. I'll see you next time.